In this video, we are going to talk about types of soils, as well as the classifications of Brazilian soils. All of this will be illustrated and straight to the point, which is the trademark of this channel. Did you like the idea? Then let's get into the video. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Paulo, your geography teacher. As always, it's an honor to have you here with me on Geo Ilustrada. And in today's video, we're going to talk about types of soil and the classification of Brazilian soils. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Well, we can't talk about types of soil without first understanding what soil is, right? In short, soil is the planet's outermost layer. It's where we live, where construction takes place, and also where important agricultural activities take place. Economic ones, such as agricultural and livestock activities, for example. And soils are basically formed from organic and mineral material, water, air, and also by living organisms, such as earthworms, for example. And a very common question is this: how, after all, are soils formed? That's pretty simple. They are formed from the weathering of a parent rock or parent material. But I'm not going to talk about that in this video, because I've already made another one specifically about that. The link is here in the card, showing up here at the top, and it's also in the video description below, all right? So go check it out. Another point we can't forget to mention are the factors of soil formation, which will determine the main characteristics of the soil in question. Whether it will be a sandier or more clayey soil, whether it will be mature soil or young soil, and so on. And these factors are as follows: the parent rock, the climate, the topography, organisms, both animals and plants, and also time. All of them are extremely important in the process of soil formation. Here in this video, I just mentioned them. In the other one I mentioned earlier, I also explained each of them in detail, all right? So make sure to check out that video. All right, with that introduction done, let's now talk about how soils are classified, and we'll also get into the types of soils. Well, when it comes to how soils are classified, many factors can be taken into consideration. Here I'm just going to list three, all right? The first one is color, which can reveal very important characteristics of the soil, such as the soil formation processes and the percentage of organic matter present in that soil. For example, darker soils indicate a very high percentage of organic matter, and those soils that are more reddish or yellowish indicate a high concentration of iron oxide. So color is an important indicator for us to better understand the characteristics of the soil. The second factor I want to highlight is the texture of the soil, which basically refers to its grain size. Remember that soil particles are classified into three types: sand, silt, and clay, with the first being the largest, the second intermediate, and the third the smallest. And the third factor concerns the depth of the soil, which indicates how weathered it is. In other words, whether it is young soil or mature soil. That said, let's finally get into the classification of Brazilian soils. And the organization that made this classification, which is the official one, was Embrapa, which is the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation. And it classified Brazilian soils into 13 main types. But before we get to know them, just a quick note. If you want a mind map for this video and all the other videos on the channel, check out our Geo Ilustrada mind map kit to strengthen your studies and organize your studies. Isn't that right, Geo Ilustrada? To strengthen your studies and organize your study routine. Whether you are a teacher, an elementary, high school, or university student, I'm sure it will help you. It's very affordable, and by getting it, you'll also be supporting this channel that supports you so much. That was the message. Now let's get back to the video. And the 13 types of soil I mentioned are the following: argisols, cambisols, xerosols, zernosols, spodosols, glasols, latisols, luvisols, neosols, nitasols, organosols, planosols, plinthosols, and vertisols. Professor, but how am I supposed to memorize all these types of soil? I can't do it. I don't know. Don't worry about it, okay? Look, it's important for you to know they exist, but there are three main ones, and those are the ones I'm going to focus on from now on, all right? So let's go. And the first and most important one you need to know is the latisols, which account for about 30% of all Brazilian soils. In other words, they are the most abundant in the country, and they have some main characteristics. First, they are very deep. In other words, highly weathered. They have colors that can vary from a more reddish tone to a more yellowish tone. In general, they are acidic soils and require amendments to be used for agricultural purposes. And they are very common, very typical in equatorial and subtropical regions. The second type is the argisols, which make up about 24% of all Brazilian soils. And their main characteristic is the large accumulation of clay in the B horizon of the soil. The depth can vary from deeper to somewhat shallower. The color can also vary from more reddish tones to more yellowish tones. In addition, they also usually have high to moderate levels of acidity. And the third most common type of soil in Brazil is the neosols, occupying about 15% of the country's area. As the name itself suggests, neosols, neo comes from new. In other words, they are younger soils, not very weathered, and they won't show all the characteristic soil horizons. They may have the O horizon, right, which is basically made up of humus, the A horizon, and the B horizon still in formation. But in general, these soils are quite useful. I'm showing a small map on the screen of the types of soils in Brazil and where they are mostly concentrated, okay? If you need to, pause the video and take a good look. And now, just to finish up on a strong note, let's talk about some environmental problems caused by the misuse of soil. And the first one, and maybe the most common, is erosion, which refers to the wearing away of soils, mainly caused by the removal of vegetation cover. And a problem related to erosion is the silting of water bodies, which refers to the accumulation of soil sediments in these water bodies. In addition to these, we also have sandification and desertification of soils, which, even though they are related to natural factors, can also be intensified and worsened by human activity, right? By human actions. I'm putting the soil video I mentioned earlier here on the screen. Be sure to watch it. Thanks for staying until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and also check out our Gaia Mind Map kit. See you next time. Bye.